a very, very special guest today, Scott ToyGuru Neitlich. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so glad that he agreed to do this interview, and I'm feeling a little bit unworthy. I'm not gonna be, this is a thing, because he's done some impressive work in the toy industry, like 20 plus years of experience, isn't it, Scott? Like, it's been a while.
It's not the years, it's the mileage.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, because he's done work on Mattel, Jakks Pacific, Jada Toys, Loot Crate, Warner Brothers, Disney, Lucasfilms. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but the resume was like super impressive. And you're also doing your own stuff. Like, you have your own business as the creative director of Spector Creative, which is really awesome. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. And your YouTube channel, which I'm subscribed to. I watch it every time a new video comes out. So thank you for
Awesome.
agreeing to do an interview with us, Scott.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So I guess like the first question I had, like I was going back and forth with my husband, I was like, how does one get the title of like toy guru? Is that something like you gave yourself? Is it something that you like have to build up? Is it something that's bestowed upon you like a crown of glory? Like, how do you get a toy guru label attached to your name?
Reminds me of the throwaway line from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, when Azim tells Robin that his name means great one. And Robin said, "Oh, did you give yourself this name?"
Yeah.
It really just started as a screen name, because when I was working on the Masters of the Universe line, classics at Mattel, I needed to register on He-Man.org to talk to the fans. And everyone had clever names. So I'm like, all right, I'll just be the toy guru, because I'm like the source of the information. I didn't even put any thought into it other than that. I was just trying to come up with a name that would immediately show that like I was the information source from Mattel, like not just, a regular person. Yeah. And I used the Mattel logo as my avatar. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could say I bestowed it on myself, but it wasn't meant to be a title. It was just meant to be a screen name.
Yeah.
To identify myself. And then people just started using it to the point that even locally, I live here in North Carolina now, and I've had people like turn around in stores and go, "Toy Guru."
Oh my goodness.
So which is crazy. Like, I recognize your voice. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's scary.
Yeah, you do have a very distinct, like, I know what I'm talking about. It is a toy guru voice. I'm not gonna lie. It's actually kind of cool.
There you go.
I mean, so you originally it was like a screen name, a quick like thing, and now it has cemented. Like, your fans, the culture has put you as a toy guru. So that's kind of cool. Awesome. All right. So I want to start like at your journey from the beginning, like talking about little Scott. Like, what did little Scott like to do with toys when he was younger? What were your first experiences? What toy lines or TV shows inspired you? And what was your favorite toy line?
Let's see. Little Scott, not that different from Big Scott. Exactly. So I grew up in Connecticut. I was born in Norwalk, Connecticut. I grew up in Cheshire, which used to be a very small town, now a slightly bigger town. And I moved to California in third grade. So I kind of had half my childhood in Connecticut and half in California. So growing up, my first toys that I remember were definitely the little people, the Fisher Price and the place that's the farm and the Sesame Street Clubhouse. Those were awesome. I still actually have my actual ones, which is really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've brought them out and had my daughters played with them, which is like really cool.
Isn't that the best? That's my favorite part. It's the best.
Oh, totally. And the fact that like those toys in particular, those old like 1960s, 70s, 80s Fisher Price toys before they changed them, like those toys were built to last, and they really had play value because putting the little peg figures. I must have like a peg figure around here somewhere. Yeah, right. They're always like on my shelf somewhere. Oh, here we go. Here's Dr. Strange. That's not a Play School or Fisher Price figure, but that was from Pinmates that I did at Entertainment Earth, but same concept. But yeah, I mean, these things, they could, go in vehicles and they could go down slides, and it was all because of their shape.
Yeah.
Which they don't have anymore. Now they have arms and legs and heads, which they don't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that was definitely my favorite original toy. Star Wars, the vintage Star Wars toys, huge, lover of that. Here's my, keep like coming around like, so there goes some guys. Here's like my actual Darth Vader from when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Does
I'm
not have his
complete with that
lightsaber
one.
anymore.
My husband has his in his shrine. It's a thing, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
lightsaber and cape are well gone, but he,
aw,
the Dark Lord of the Sith remain. And then I think after Star Wars, definitely He-Man obviously was a big
heck
one.
yeah.
When I was 4 or 5, I was very sick on my birthday, not like coronavirus sick,
Yeah.
just like a normal kid flu. So my
Mm.
parents had to cancel my birthday party
Oh
with my
no.
friends, or at least postpone it till I
Yeah.
was. And obviously when you're 4 or 5, that's pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So to cheer me up, they gave me all of my gifts that day anyway. And so I got Castle Grayskull, He-Man, Skeletor, Battle Cat, Man at Arms, and Stratos. So
I cannot fathom that. That is like
that
the
was like
best
my first
ever.
infusion of masters. And I mean I was totally, especially because I was very skinny as a kid. So the idea of this big buff, man made of muscle was very aspirational to me.
Yeah.
So that's definitely where the He-Man emotional connection came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other great love as a kid was a toy line called Constructs, which, let's see, I don't know if you could see it behind me. There's a vehicle
Yeah, I see it.
here. So, and then here's the
Neat.
little, oh, come on. I'm like knocking everything over.
I just love that you can just like go and there's toys everywhere. Wherever you turn, there's a toy. That is awesome.
Oh, yeah, this is my office.
Yeah.
So this was a little pilot guy who would fly the ship.
Wow.
And so Constructs was a girder and bolt building system that it's actually put out by Fisher Price, which is owned by Mattel now, though they don't use it. They use the word Constructs with Mega Blocks, which is interesting.
Right.
But what Constructs were these girder and bolt systems, and then eventually they started making military and space and different theme sets. It started as like buildings, like you would build a skyscraper was the original play pattern.
Wow.
They were little construction workers.
Wow.
So that was a big one. I used to build like kind of my own ships for Star Wars, if you will,
That's cool.
because the Star Wars figures were basically, they would fit into the cockpit. So I could build like my own vehicles and put characters in there and stuff like that.
Awesome. And see, you were like creating your own and like integrating your own universe even at that young age. See, that just shows like the creative aspect of it all. That is so neat. So talking about toys and the toys you've created, like most of your fans know the birth of your character, the Mighty Spector. But for my followers, just give them a little background about how you were inspired, like how was he created? And like especially the journey of how it went from like concept of a child to now it's like almost everywhere because he made it in the Master of the Universe Classic line, which is really cool. He was in Hot Wheels. There's a Mighty Spector car, and I'm pretty sure wasn't he in a comic book at one point? So it's like he's grown. So like, how did it start, and then how did you get to see it evolve?
Well, actually, since I've got this guy, so this was the original Mighty Spector. This was just Captain Spector.
Oh, okay.
That's what I named this guy who would fly around in his spaceship. And I don't know where the name originally came from, but it just seemed like something easy to pronounce, and I liked it. And I would use it. I would also use it whenever like I formed a club, like the Spector Detective Agency.
Oh my goodness.
As a kid, or
Cool.
I used to always think I was going to go into film production. So like in high school and college, I would draw a logo that would be Spector Productions. It was going to be the name of my film company.
Wow.
But now I have Spector Creative as the name of my toy company.
Well, there's still time. You
Yes.
got time.
Oh,
as well jump right in. There's still time.
Lots in the hopper. So as far as that that character kind of like evolved. For a while, he was also, I would say about 5th, 6th, 7th grade, he became more of a kind of like a freakazoid-esque character where he was kind of like this goofy animated character with big eyes that went up, and he had kind of like an hourglass, not like a female hourglass figure, but sort of, I guess, more of a male hourglass figure where he had like a big stomach.
Oh, okay.
Like he was like had a fat stomach and then it went down again. And he had horns coming out of his head.
Wow.
On either side. But he still had the same color scheme. Like it's sort of like it was the same outfit you've seen the Motu Classics figure, but it was in more of like this weird Plastic Man Freakazoid animated looking. I don't even know where that came from, but I remember I sculpted it at summer camp as like a little statue.
That's cool.
And like everyone in my cabin thought it was like so cool that I had like this character I created, like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then when I was about 13, 14, he evolved into more or less his current form of a superhero because I did I submitted him to Marvel Comics along with like a whole backstory.
I read that,
Yeah, and I drew a picture of him using like the style of, I think, like the 93 or 92 Marvel Universe card set. So that like it looked like one of the cards. And I got a nice form letter rejecting it, but basically saying it had nothing to do with the viability of the concept, just that they don't take unsolicited characters, which
that's acceptable. That didn't hurt the ego. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Although I do remember when I told that story, I was like, oh, now you're using a character that Marvel rejected. I'm like, no, they didn't reject him. They didn't even look at him. Like, I get it from a legal standpoint, and I know from working at Mattel, you can't take unsolicited material. It legally makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, that was kind of his final form is the superhero, and then in Motu Classics for 2012, the 30th anniversary, we were doing. The idea was we wanted to do something different to celebrate the anniversary. And since all the figures we'd done had precedent, either as vintage figures or concept art or, from animation. So the idea was to go back to the original 82 line. When that launched, there was no content except the toy and the pack-in mini comic. But, when you were just a kid, if you seeing it you couldn't get to the mini comic unless you opened the toy. So seeing it on shelf was an emotional experience. You were seeing this figure for the first time. That was your very first experience.
Yeah.
So the idea was to recreate that emotional experience by doing 6 original characters created for the 30th anniversary that had never been seen before, would appear first as toys.
Yeah. And
the original idea was to contact people who'd worked on the vintage line to create these, so we'd have like hypothetically, a Roger Sweet character and a Mark Taylor character and yada, yada. None of them wanted anything to do with it, or they wanted a lot of money to do it. And I was like, look, we have no money. This is like,
it's for the fans.
Yeah, exactly. So then my backup plan was to reach out to current comic book artists and writers who were hot, and see if I could get them to create one. Like they might have been fans of He-Man, and same thing. And again, everyone I contacted either wanted nothing to do with it or wanted a lot of money to do it. So in fact, the only person willing to do it and for free was Jeff Johns, who I met during the Green Lantern movie phase of my toy making career. Jeff and I became friends, and I had learned, he was a huge He-Man fan. So when I called him and said, he's like, oh my God, I'll totally do that.
That's awesome.
So that's why Jeff had a figure in it, because he was willing to do it.
Exactly.
And we didn't pay him. I mean, he had to sign the figure over to Mattel. He got his name on package, and that was basically, it was the joy of having, your character. So since my first 2 plans fell through of having vintage creators work on it and or comic book professionals, then we said, okay, well, we'll get toy professionals to work on it, people who have been a part of the line. So we knew we definitely wanted the 4 Horsemen to create one. That made a lot of sense.
Definitely, yeah.
And then when I brought this plan to management, I was explaining how I tried to get vintage creators, and now we were going to have toy makers. They're like, oh, well, the VP was like, well, Scott, you should do one. People know who you are. And I was like, I don't think that's going to go over too well. And no, like, people know your name. You should definitely do one. I was like, okay, you said that, not me.
I'm not going to fight you on it. Fine.
Yeah. So that's basically how I got a slot. And there wasn't even like a second thought that I was going to do Mighty Spector, because that was the character I always drew and created. And I knew that this obviously meant Mattel was going to own him, but I really didn't have plans to draw him as a comic book or make like a movie of him or anything. He was just a character that existed without a home. So I was more, to me, it was more important. It was cooler to get a toy of him than to have Mattel own him forever. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And
that makes a lot of sense. Like the
Yeah.
reward was so much better to finally see like something that was like originally a concept turn into something real tangible that you can touch by a major toy line. Like, yeah, I probably would have made the same decision. So yeah, no.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
I mean, I've got him like all over the place, but he's in my office everywhere. So,
Yay! Oh my goodness.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm gonna put up a probably a picture of him, like a nice 360 of him, because it's really cool. Like I believe in children. I work in early childhood education, and like the child's imagination and creativity at a young age, like it should really be nurtured because you never know what's gonna come of it. So yeah, I'm all about it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your time with Mattel. I mean, I was looking at like everything you're doing. You had your hand in a lot of stuff. Like you were super busy. You were the marketing manager there, and you worked on a lot of different things. What are a rundown of like some of your favorite projects that you worked on during your time there? Like, what did you really enjoy?
I mean, I enjoyed everything. It was always kind of a labor of love. And it wasn't till I left Mattel that I realized like I was doing the job of 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of don't realize that when you're in the trenches, and then you get a job at another company. You're like, great, this is all you want me to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously working on Master Universe Classics was amazing because like I remember when we made the King Grayskull figure, I thought that was the only He-Man toy I was ever going to get to make. And I brought him home. I was like, wow, I made a He-Man toy. Like one. That was, I'm out. Like, wow, greatest
I'm good.
Yeah, one toy, greatest accomplishment. And I had no idea we were going to do like 300 figures in a castle and,
Yeah.
So, I mean, just doing that, working on classics. The hoverboard was a huge one. Even though that was,
Hoverboard?
Yeah, hold on, I got one of those around here somewhere. Hold on.
That is so awesome. You literally have a piece of like a toy, a piece of something everywhere. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So we made a hoverboard prop replica, which, despite the fact that there were some issue, people wanted it to look this way or that way. One of the issues with it was there were 27 hoverboards in the movie, at least as far as props. So there wasn't like a definitive one, the way there's only one PKE meter, if you will.
Exactly.
Or one Luke lightsaber. I guess it's Anakin's lightsaber or Rey's or something. So and like being able to have the Mattel logo on it, like in the movie. Any other company that ever makes a hoverboard in the future will not be able to do that.
Right.
Like, Mattel is the only company in the world that would be, because Mattel doesn't license out its logo. In fact, we were approached by Diamond years before we made this. They were interested in acquiring the rights to a hoverboard, but before they approached Universal, they came to Mattel to make sure that Mattel would let them put the logo on. And Mattel said flat out, absolutely not.
Right.
For legal reasons, because if someone hurts themselves, they could sue Mattel, even though it's not our product. So like there's never going to be another one of these ever. So I'm really glad. That was awesome getting to do that. Hopefully it won't turn on as I put it down.
Oh my goodness.
It has a habit of doing that.
I would mess myself up. I'm not even going to think about it. Like I would be in the hospital like in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. Not a flying toy. Getting to write the mini comics for Motu Classics was awesome. I mean, the DC Universe, getting to work on that. Justice League. I was a huge collector of the Justice League Unlimited line before Mattel.
Very nice.
So getting to actually work on that was another huge dream come true, because that was a line I actively collected.
That's awesome.
So that was very cool. Yeah, I mean, it was, and really it was also just about the people. I got to work with really talented, designers, the Four Horsemen, Bill, Brandon, just, everyone I worked with was just really great. And, it was a fun time.
Yeah, I'm a Four Horsemen fan. They do some great stuff. So as all good things, they come to an end. And I will say it was comforting to know that there is indeed life after Mattel. So I don't know, but that might be a good title for your book if you ever write a book. Life after Mattel. Like that is like a book title. I'm just throwing that out there. But you got to work with some really cool people after you left. So like I don't know a lot about the Jakks Pacific toys. I was looking into the Jada Toys. They're like more of a die cast aspect of toys. So can you tell us a little bit about those companies that you work for? They seem really cool.
Yeah, so let's see. So Jakks, the toys I worked on there. So I was recruited to Jakks by my former boss at Mattel, who'd left a few years earlier to go to Jakks. And so he called me up and said, look, if you're interested, we have an open position for a director of marketing. And I basically hit a wall at Mattel where it's like most big companies. Same, my brother-in-law worked for Apple and the same thing. It's like when you work for a big company, you kind of eventually hit a wall where you just can't get promoted beyond your current, status.
Yeah.
So I was offered, a major title change, salary change, and it was a chance to work on Star Wars, which I loved.
Yeah.
So this was episode 7, back when we all thought like, this is like the new rebirth of Star Wars. Although maybe Baby Yoda is that now.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely, hands down.
Yeah. So, but back then, pre episode 7, when we were getting a chance to work on it, and I was going to be the director of marketing over their Star Wars, I was like, okay, I have never gotten to work on that before. I was actually working on Hot Wheels Star Wars at Mattel. I did the launch for that, but that was not really action figures. They were just, cars that looked like that wasn't the same thing.
That's still cool.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, believe me. And I got to go to Lucasfilm, and I got to go to their like, like their presentations to all the manufacturers about what the new movies were going to be like, and watch footage, and that was totally amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
So the line I worked on was called Big Figs. Previous to me being there, it was just essentially these big 31-inch figures, mostly of clone troopers. They had Darth Vader, a few others, and they were introducing 2 new scales: a 20-inch figure and a 48-inch gigantic figure.
Oh, wow.
And a big thing I was brought in for was there was no cohesive strategy or branding for this. And they weren't just doing Star Wars. They had DC, Halo, Minions, Godzilla, Power Rangers. I'm sure I'm forgetting 1 or 2 of the major but they had a lot of pop culture brands. They were doing these large figures. So I came in, and with my team, we rebranded them and called them Big Figs. And we had 3 different scales. We had like now I can't even remember what they were, like colossal scale, like essential scale, whatever it was. But we gave them like reasons for being in the market, not just like, here's a big figure.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It was like, this is who's going to buy it, and this is how they play with it, and that's how we were able to sell them to retail. And we got the branding on all of them. They were all now called Big Figs. It wasn't just these random one-off large characters. And we got to do Star Wars figures. We got to do Comic-Con exclusive Star Wars figures, and it was really cool. One of the ones I really enjoyed doing for Comic-Con, we took the 20-inch Vader, about that big, and we did him in all clear as a hologram. And what I liked about that was that was actually about the size that the hologram was in the AT-AT on Hoth.
Oh, wow.
When he appears. Yeah. So I kind of marketed it as almost a prop replica, because it was like you could put it on your desk, and it was like the hologram was talking to you.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah, so I really liked that. And we did a Boba Fett that had never a deco that had never really been done as an action figure before. I think it had one time been done as like a vinyl figure, but never an articulated figure. And Hasbro had never done it. Now I really wanted to find a way to do a deco Hasbro had never done.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then after that, did I go right to Jada after that? It all kind of mixes in my head.
Yeah.
So Jada was doing metal figures. Let's see, I know I have one back here. Hold on a second. I gotta move a few figures to get to him. There we go. All right. So they were doing these metal figures, which are kind of like Funko.
Yes, I have seen those.
Yeah, but in metal. They weigh a lot. They weigh like, half a pound or something.
Yeah.
And so I was brought in. This was the first time Jada was doing action figures. Previous to this, they had only done vehicles in diecast. Diecast was kind of their core competency. And so now that they were doing figures, they wanted someone who understood the action figure market to head this up. So I was brought in. I was actually brought in by a recruiter who contacted me. It was the first time I was actually recruited by a headhunter.
Fancy, I love it.
And so, and part of my compensation there was based on sales.
Okay.
And I knew that these alone were never going to do it because they were selling okay, but it's basically a Funko Pop in metal.
Yeah.
And so what I was able to do there was, once again, that's funny that I've got everything right here.
No, it's perfect.
Oh, the grab, where is he? I know I have one somewhere. Oh, there we go. So I brought in my old Kenner 1980 Star Wars metal figures.
Yes.
And I said, what we should do is do pop culture in this scale, in the scale of traditional toy soldiers, metal soldiers, and do them, instead of doing World War II soldiers, do pop culture characters.
Awesome.
And what was great was Jack Lee, who was the president and owner at the time, they've since sold the company. With Mattel, it would sometimes take years to get something approved. And he took one look and was like, yes, let's do that.
Awesome.
And immediately we went out and got licenses. And so here's a sample of ones. This is actually Gizmo Duck there.
I've seen that. I think we have that. I am pretty sure I have that.
But yeah, awesome. we did DC, Harry Potter, Marvel. I put together a whole proposal for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, some other brands. And it became it was called Nano, which is still available at retail. There's like 20 packs at Target, and Walmart has a Dungeons and Dragons exclusive line.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So yeah, that was basically me coming in and saying, we should, okay, I know you're doing these bigger metal figures, but what the goal was to get these to 99 cents. Because it could basically be a action figure competitor to Hot Wheels.
That's
at that price point. No one was selling a 99-cent action figure.
Right.
So that was the pitch, and yeah, it worked really. It's still at market now, and it's like every time I look, I'm like, yep, that's my line.
That's really awesome. And I just want to, this is like a little side note. This wasn't even in my notes, but when you talk about toys, you really bring in the emotional aspect of it, the emotional connection, and the playability of the toy. And that is something I really connect with. It's not just you're making toys to make toys. You're just doing this as a career. You're putting a lot of thought into this, like making it really personal to the buyer.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you noting that, because that's actually what my current company, Spector Creative, and you can see it on spectorcreative.com or check out our YouTube videos at Spector Creative on YouTube. Everything we do is about that. It's about creating product. It doesn't have to be, I have clients that aren't toy product. I have clients that have beauty care product and gag gift clients and music instrument clients. But everything that we do, and I work specifically with child play therapists and social workers. And, so my wife has her master's degree in child play therapy from NYU. So we work together a lot.
Yeah.
And we specifically tackle every assignment, every client from an emotional connection.
Yeah.
As an interesting example, I'm doing a pro bono client right now with the city of Greensboro, where I live, a woman who does custom quilts. It's called SewMeaningful.com. You can check her out online.
Yeah.
And working with her original thought was that she sold quilts. Custom quilts with custom embroidery. And so I got her to rethink her business, that she doesn't sell quilts. She sells the emotional thrill of giving someone a gift that is personal and brings them warmth and joy. Yeah. And once she shifted into that, she's like, oh, besides quilts, I could also make photo frames, and I could do this, and I could do, like, yeah, see, you're selling an emotional experience, not a product.
Yeah.
And that's really what I work with all my clients with.
Yeah, I was looking at your business website, and that's what really impressed me with everything, because people can make toys, you can produce plastic, but what people necessarily can't always do is bring in the emotional aspect to it. I've worked with children. I've worked in early childhood, I think, for 9 years, and we are very play-based. That is how we believe that children learn, is through play, and their early childhood experiences through play are kind of what shape them into the adults that they are and their relationships and how they view the world. So I was very drawn to your business model of that. And I definitely want to meet your wife and pick her brain with things, because I was like reading up about her too, and just like the experience of it all. So it just means a lot to me as a collector and a lover of toys, that you can't always, that's why He-Man is back the way it is, and Transformers are back as popular as they are, because there is some kind of emotional connection. So I appreciate that a lot as a toy buyer, as a toy lover. So,
and I mean, honestly, and you kind of did hit the nail on the head. Toy companies don't, a lot of times they're just like, oh, it worked last year, let's do it this year in a different color.
Yeah.
And it's like that line in Jurassic Park, the first one, the very first one, where Ian is talking to Hammond, can't say it.
Talking to that guy.
Hammond, not Hamilton. Hammond. Excuse me. And he says, you basically spent all your time thinking about whether you could do it, not whether you should do it. And that's really what I found from 20 years in the toy industry. And yeah, you have more successful product when you think of the emotion first. So yeah, viewers out there, if you've got an idea for a product and want it to market, check us out at spectorcreative.com. We'll help you.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Self-plug.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to put all your stuff in the description below too, and everything, because we definitely want to promote you and what you do. And so we talked a little bit about your business, which is great, and I really hope it's doing well. How about your YouTube channel? Like, how's that been going? Like, I've watched so many, and in case you guys don't know and have not seen, it's really informative, and it gives you a lot of insight behind the scenes in the toy biz and also into toy production. So, like, how did you get the idea to do a YouTube channel? Like, what was it that made you say, like, all right, I'm gonna get into YouTube? And then how do you get ideas for new videos?
Well, it basically started, so we're here in 2020, obviously. And when the whole country was shut down back in March and April, like really shut down. We're obviously more open now. I was bored.
Yeah, there you go.
I was looking for something to do, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to try making YouTube videos just to see what it's like. I'm going to I'll teach myself how to do it and see what happens. And what I realized was that, I'm a big fan of toy, videos on YouTube. Most of them are either reviews of toys or they're like historical look backs at like the story of, Boggins, or the story of Dino Riders, or, Micronauts or something, which are great. It's fun to see the story of a toy. No one was talking about the process. And I realized, so a lot of the information I have, it's not proprietary, because every toy company does it the same way.
Right.
There's the way toys are made with tooling, if you will. That's the big mold that makes an action figure. That's not a trade secret. And in fact, I'm actually working, we're producing our own product now. I can't get into all that now. That's once we're there.
Yeah.
But we're working with we've already locked in with a major retailer, which is awesome. And more to come.
Yeah.
So, especially in doing that and realizing the access that I like, from now that I'm talking directly to vendors in Hong Kong producing our product, I realized, well, wait a minute, I just called up these vendors. It's like, this is not secret information, if you will. There's no reason I can't share this, because anyone could technically contact a vendor and ask them about MOQ, order quantities and production stuff and shipping stuff. So I'm like, this is not a trade secret.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to talk about, there are things that are Mattel or Jada, Jakks proprietary information. I would never talk about that.
Right.
Even though I've far long left the companies, but so much of the toy making process is not a trade secret, is completely in public domain, more or less.
Yeah.
And then it really also coming out of your original question about, calling myself ToyGuru, a lot of the way I was talking to fans online was because that was the way I wanted toy companies to talk to me, because I'm also a collector. I'm not just, it's like a hair club for men, I'm also a member.
Okay.
So the videos were basically like, well, as a collector myself, these are the kind of questions that I've always wished toy companies, but toy companies aren't going to take time to do that because there's no incentive for it. You know, it would cost them time and money to make a video about, and like, what's that going to get them?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I'll just start. I really started it because I also wanted to promote my company.
Yeah.
And so it was a way of I can use the fact that I know how toys are made to promote my company and use YouTube. I mean, it was basically that. And I remember there was even somebody who posted in the comments early on, is like, he's only doing this to promote his company. He's not just, you know, doing this to share toy knowledge. And I commented back, I'm like, can't I do both? Like, where's the crime here?
Like, yeah, and it's not only, it's yeah, I am, but
yeah, like, yes, I am absolutely trying to promote my company, but you're also getting to learn stuff. So
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah,
no, I get
but the comments have been overwhelmingly positive. I was really actually surprised because I know YouTube comments are notorious for being, you know, the bottom of the barrel of society.
Yeah.
But everyone's been like, wow, this is like amazing, and like, thank you for doing this, and it really means a lot. I'm so grateful for those kind of comments because I'm so happy that people are enjoying learning this stuff.
Right.
And as far as ideas for videos, a lot of them come from the comments. Like, people say, can you do a video on this? So I have a notepad and I just write it down. And when it comes time to needing a new video, I look at my list and say, all right, someone asked about this. Bingo, let's do a video on it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. Like, my husband and I were really bored, and just like everybody else, we were, you know, ordering a bunch of stuff online. And as they were coming in, my husband's like, well, I would love to get your reactions on film of you opening these toys, because that's pretty much all we buy online. And that's kind of how we started. He wanted to capture the humor and the shock of, oh my God, I can't believe you bought more Modulok, or, you know, so he wanted to capture it on film. So I can definitely relate to like the boredom aspect of it, because COVID, you know, it made people get really creative. So I can't knock it. So awesome. So what are you currently collecting right now? So like, what are you playing with? What toys have a special place in your heart on your shelves right now?
So really the two lines I'm mainly collecting at the moment, because you get to a point where you kind of realize you have everything, you know.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna get there.
Yeah. Marvel Legends is a big one. There's, you can see part of my Marvel Legends collection there.
Goodness, look at that.
So and I, you know, being the OCD collector that we all are, I kind of restrict myself to 1992-ish X-Men and Spider-Man villains.
There you go.
So, which is crazy because like in the last 2 years, I've probably gotten more than I have in the last 10, just because they've been focusing on that. So yeah, like let's see, I just got Kang in the mail a few days ago. Awesome figure. They're doing these pinless articulation now, Hasbro is, which is amazing. I absolutely love what they're doing with articulation.
Yeah.
And he's like a fully tooled figure too. This is an amazing Marvel Legends figure.
Yeah, I think
free plug for Hasbro there.
That's neat.
Yeah, so getting a lot of those. I am picking up some Black Series figures. You know, this is the way. You know, doing that kind.
That's pretty.
So
I like it.
I wish they gave him a cloth cape only because of the way it drapes over the.
Can I tell you? Don't get me started on these capes, okay? Because look, I have Mr. Scareglow right here, right? This is the new Origins. Look at this cape. I'm not a fan of this cape at all. Like,
is that plastic?
Yeah, and this Rider had around in the neck right here.
And it goes right up.
Yeah, and it feels like it's gonna snap off. Like,
totally. Yeah, that little piece is gonna like never last, especially if a kid's playing with it.
And then I don't think it's in here. It is. Hold on. So this is the way it like came packaged, right? So I kept this because I was gonna do this on a video. Like the way it was packaged around his neck, or I'm doing this the wrong way. I can't redo it, but the way it was packaged around his neck, like if you had one small slip of the razor and like a 1/4 centimeter to the right, like you would have snipped his cape right off. So
capes are such a weird thing. Yeah, I mean, it's like you've got lines where, you know, well, actually, this is a Marvel Legends figure. What happened to that? Where did that Mandalorian go? I just had. Oh no! Now I've
great, the Mandalorian.
Can't find him. But you know, it's like Star Wars. So that Mandalorian figure, you know, had a plastic cape, and then here's, you know, other figures from the same line. The Black series have cloth capes.
Yeah, just do.
And to me, it's like, pick one. Like like, if you're gonna go with cloth, because in particular that Mando figure. God, where is he?
He ran away.
I don't know where. He's probably off with Baby Yoda somewhere. Yeah, fighting giant spiders. You know, the cloth doesn't drape over his jetpack correctly, so that annoys me as a collector.
Yeah, too.
So anyway, back to your question. So yeah, so Marvel Legends, Black Series, Star Wars 3 and 3. I will buy anything from the original trilogy. So 4, 5, 6, I have literally every figure from orange carded Chewbacca, Power of the Force, through the Gonk droid that was released a month and a half ago. It's driving me crazy that they won't finish the original line. They still have like 3 characters to do. The mustached Bespin guard, the Slim Aloo, the tall Imperial dignitary, and for my money, the Endor Trooper. They've done an Endor Trooper, but it's not the vintage Endor Trooper. They did that one kind of in the Power of the Force 2, but he hasn't been done in like the current vintage series, you know, with like, which has been a slightly different scale. So that was a big thing also for me at Mattel, was finishing lines like we did with Superpowers and with vintage Motu. Was you know, you want to be able to say, you know, like, just because you finish a vintage line doesn't mean a line is over. You can still make more characters, but being able to recreate a line from when we were kids with modern figures, there's a payoff there. And you know, I remember talking to some people at Hasbro at Comic-Con years ago about this, and they said that they purpose. I mean, I don't know if this is still their policy. This was 5, 6 years ago, but they deliberately didn't want to do all the original 92 because they felt that once they did, people would stop collecting. And I was like, that is so not the right. Yeah, so that's what I'm actively collecting now. So maybe I got a Hot Wheels Ritz ship.
Nice.
In the Hot Wheels line. I thought that was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So
yeah, unfortunately, we are a Hot Wheels family because my son is obsessed with Hot Wheels. So we have everywhere. And I will say, this is the first time I've said it on Gen X Toy Box so far. We just picked up the Motu Classics castle like 2 weekends ago. We had it. We sold a bunch of my husband's collection, unfortunately, when our son was born, and then now we're rebuilding back up. We just bought it like 2 weekends ago, and
oh, well, congratulations. That's a keeper.
It's beautiful. And like my husband and I were playing with it. We didn't have the baby that weekend, so we were kind of just playing with the whole castle, and we were seeing who can fit in the throne, and like it was just the whole thing. We were having a blast. So yeah, that
I got mine. I'm looking right at mine. So.
Yeah, no, mine's right in front of me. We have it displayed in the center of the room. It's ridiculous. So this is going to be a good question. Can you provide Gen X Toy Box with one tidbit of Toy Biz information that you have not shared in your videos or in any other like interview? I'm dying for an exclusive. It doesn't have to be like a trade secret, just something that hasn't been shared yet, that can just be for us.
Let's see. Okay, here's one that, because I haven't done the Fisto video yet, because I've been doing the Motu Classics director's commentaries. So obviously there were some issues with Fisto, like where not enough were produced, or because not like even subscribers couldn't get it. And honestly, I still don't know what happened with that. Like engineering wouldn't even tell me. But the interesting thing about Fisto, besides the whole shortage of production or whatever that was, he had more deco reduction than any other figure in the line. So the figure that we showed at Comic-Con, like the prototype, had so much more deco on him. Like every rivet was decoed. There were all these things on his belt that were decoed that we had to reduce for cost reasons. And not one fan ever said anything about that I think it's because there were other issues with him about the shortage. But I remember like I was waiting for it because the one, every time we reduced deco, like Stinkor's weapons didn't have deco that the prototype had.
Yeah.
And so every time we did that, we'd get, fans being like, what happened to this deco? And I never saw anyone mention that. And it was like a lot of deco that was reduced.
Yeah, right?
So yeah, go check out your Fisto and like Google like what he looked like at Comic-Con in the case and compare them, and you'll see like how much like he really lost a lot of deco.
That's interesting. Yeah, now I'm probably gonna go look after this video. So I guess the last question I have is, let's talk about the new Motu figures that are coming out, the Origins and the Eternia minis. Like, what are your take on those? And I mean, I would love to hear your opinion, because personally, it's been a nightmare trying to collect these things. I have been in every Walmart, I think, in North Carolina twice, trying to find these figures, especially when they first came out. So, like, what is your take on just, how they look? And I don't know if you ever gotten like up close and personal, how they feel, and just like the distribution aspect. Like, what's your opinion on it?
So I haven't actually bought one. So I haven't taken one out of the package. I was kind of holding off till I found a character I really wanted, like Scareglow or Trapjaw.
Yeah.
Basically because I already have a definitive Motu collection, and I don't see Origins doing every character that Classics has been done.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how many full collections, So for me, Origins would be more like a cherry pick, if you will.
Yeah. That makes
if I get some. Okay, yeah. So I've seen all the figures except for the Prince Adam with the Sky Sled at retail. I've not seen that, but I've seen Tila, Man-at-Arms, Beastman, He-Man, Skeletor. I'm missing somebody.
Battle
Pardon?
Cat.
I've seen Battle Cat. Okay. I've only seen Tila and Man-at-Arms and Beastman once. I've seen He-Man and Skeletor a few times.
Yeah.
I've only seen Tila literally once at retail.
Oh, you're missing Evelyn. You're thinking of Evelyn.
Oh, Evelyn, yes, I've seen Evil. And so the day, like one day, it was Evelyn, Tila, and like they had all of them one day. But they only had like one of each.
Yeah.
And if I bought them, they would have had none.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, if a toy line's at retail, it has to sell to kids.
Yeah.
And the proof in that is the collector aisle that both Target and Walmart have in the electronics section behind the TVs.
Yeah.
That product doesn't have to sell to kids. It has a different ratio of square footage to dollars generated. So anything that's sold in that toy aisle, the way big box stores look at it, a toy aisle is no different than an aisle that sells scented candles or gardening supplies or toilet paper or anything else.
Yeah.
Every foot, a square foot, has to sell a certain amount of product to justify the space.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to get those sales in the toy aisle is to sell to children or more so to gift givers. People buying for children.
Yeah.
So Origins, like any other toy line sold in a big box retail aisle, has to sell to kids. I've heard people questioning, well, why are they at Walmart? Why did Mattel give Walmart this line as if like they gave them a present?
Yeah.
It's more like Walmart was probably the only one willing to carry it. I'm sure your big bad toy stores and Entertainment Earth and Dorkside Toys would have, but they, even together, all of those online stores can't meet what's called the MOQ, which is the minimum order quantity a factory needs to go into production. Okay. Walmart and Target, and maybe Amazon to some extent, are the only retailers that can order a high enough quota to get a factory to turn the machine on.
Okay.
So basically, if Walmart hadn't been interested in this program, they wouldn't even be on shelf at all. So it's more like Walmart did Mattel a favor, not the other way around.
Huh. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So, personally, I think they are cool. I like what they're doing. My question is, will kids be interested in it? Obviously, what I think Mattel is aiming for are the children of collectors or 80s parents.
Yeah.
because the idea that a child is going to go down the aisle and say, I want that, is like going to like, it's more like this is a gift a parent is going to choose and force onto their kid.
Yeah.
I mean, not force, but
Yeah.
it's not going to make Christmas lists, if you will, written by the children.
Yeah.
And to me, that's, I wouldn't call it the fundamental flaw, but that's the issue that has to be overcome. Is kids, will kids, turn that, make that change to where they start asking for it.
Yeah.
Versus parents saying, here, I played with this as a child, now you go.
Yeah.
So, that's why we sold Motu Classics online, because we knew we could never sell it at retail. I mean, especially the obscure characters we were doing. It required the adult collector, which means not using the retail model. So, will it work? Will basically depend on whether or not kids get into it. It also seems like they're doing a lot of form factors, like a lot, between the minis, the Mega Blocks, the Imagine-X, the Masterverse.
Yeah.
When I ran Classics, very deliberately did not diversify the form factors, because I felt that if you have, say $20 to spend on He-Man toys that month, I want you spending it on Classics.
Right.
I don't want to risk that you're going to take that $20 and spend it on another form factor. I mean, I know eventually we also did do minis.
Yeah.
But that wasn't until like year 8.
Yeah.
For years, people, like even companies, I was even very hesitant to let Funko Pop do He-Man figures. Because again, it's like, I don't want you spending your He-Man money on non-Classics product, because I need to sell Classics product.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just my own personal strategy, but from what I see them putting out a lot of stuff, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, I would love nothing more than for He-Man to be a success at retail, but it's already failed 3 times at retail.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't look at it like that, but that's even how Mattel looks at it. It failed in 86. It absolutely failed in 91, and it failed in 2002. And all 3, it failed in 2002 because kids weren't into it. Collectors were.
That's true.
But that's another proof of why a toy line at retail has to appeal to kids, because the only people buying the 2000X figures were collectors.
Yeah.
And that's not enough to sustain interest.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because like, as you see now, the people that are going into Walmarts and taking them off the shelves are the adult collectors and the sellers, like the ones that are buying them to flip a profit. And so that's one of the problems I had with it, because I was talking to some Walmart managers about, they said they had it in stock, they didn't. And I said, I'm literally just trying to get it for my kid, because he's been playing with all of the vintage figures, and we think it would be cool for him to see, these are the vintage figures and these are the newer ones, so he can kind of have that experience and have that comparison. And it's for him, but then again, he's not walking down the aisle going, oh, look, there's a He-Man, I want it. So yeah, we definitely see the fact that I don't think it's made for kids, and they're trying to make it for kids. I mean, especially with the minis, like they're making duplicate figures in the different series, and like with the mini comics, they're like all the same mini comics. They're definitely not making it for collectors, but unfortunately,
I absolutely applaud what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just remains to be seen if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And what also, to hit your last point about the only people buying it now are adult collectors and scalpers. So the mathematics I usually throw out is that any product, 20% of it is going to be adult collector, or 80% is going to be kid. But the thing is, the collectors will buy the first 20%. Like the 20% collectors buy is the first 20% of the production run. And so once collectors are mollified or satisfied with getting enough product, then the back end 80%, which is the larger amount of the quota, the production quota that has to sell to kids, people are saying, well, I can't find them. Like, just wait, just give it another month, give it 2 months. Like, once collectors are done with the feeding frenzy, there's so much more production units coming that are dependent on kids sales. And if kids aren't into it, you'll easily be able to get it. So
That's what I keep telling my husband. He was freaking out about getting a trap jaw because that's his favorite. And I'm like, I promise you, just wait like 3-4 months and he will be on the shelf. You'll be able to pick him up. Just give it a little bit. But of course, he's the I need it. I want it. I don't want to not have it. So
I'm the same way.
yeah,
I'm absolutely the same way.
so I'm just like, just wait. And we're the same way with the Masters of the Universe wrestler figures. Where he's waiting to get that Mr. T one. He is he's all about that Mr. T. So I told him, I was like, it'll get here. Just gotta wait. So I really appreciate your insight and everything. And I really enjoyed this interview. And it's really great to learn from someone in the industry and get your input and see what goes behind the things that I collect and that I play with on a daily basis. So thank you so much for doing an interview with me. It was fun.
Thank you for having me. It's
awesome.
It's not like I really get to talk to that many people about toys, and I love chatting toys. So thank you so much I had a great time.
Awesome. All right, so guys, check the description at the bottom. There's going to be tons of information about what Scott's doing now, what he has done. There's going to be a ton of stuff, so just pay attention, and I will join you next video, guys. Bye. Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really fun. Yeah, I really love toys.
Now we need a new milestone. So I was thinking at probably 125 subscribers, we can give you a tour of one room in the house. Now, mind you, every room has something toy related in it. So we can either do this room and you can see the full He-Man room. We can do my husband's office, which has a bunch of stuff in it. We can show you downstairs that has a bunch of Muscles, Imaginax, like 3-year-old just cool toys. Also we can show you our game room that has a bunch of video games and board games in it, or we can show you our kitchen. Like, again, I could pretty much show you any room in this house, and it can be your choosing. We can do like a fan request probably. So 125 subscribers, you get a tour of the toys in the house in one room. So keep liking and subscribing. Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.
It's my husband's fault. I literally no, I can't say that. No, I was a huge Ghostbusters fan when I was little, so I played with tons of Ghostbuster stuff. But let me tell you, I don't know if my husband ever told you, I didn't know what He-Man was until we moved to North Carolina, until he had me in a whole nother state, like married, because he collected like some Marvel stuff. But then we moved down here, we got a house. He's like, have you heard about He-Man? I was like, what's a He-Man? And then lo and behold, I kid you not even a year later, we had an entire room dedicated to him. We were watching the cartoons, and now it's back. So like, I didn't even know. He waited until he had me locked in to unleash the He-Man. So
that's a good trick. It's a good move.
But yes, I definitely want to talk to your wife about stuff, because I am very passionate about early childhood education. I'm not just the one that goes in and babysit the kid and does it for a paycheck. Like
we'll have to absolutely should double date and go all to dinner. Like,
yeah, we really should. I mean, I am all about my 1-year-olds learn. Like, I teach them, but they learn through play. Like, they learn their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills through the toys that I give them and the activities I set up for them. Like, my 1-year-olds are more put together people than most adults are by the time they leave my classroom, because I try and make them a whole person before they leave me.
And that's what toys are supposed to do. And it's I always want to have a bumper sticker that says "Parent your child." But,
yeah, exactly. It's so yeah, learning through play is definitely the biggest philosophy, and it just makes little people great people when they can play. So yes, we'll definitely have to double date, and we'll definitely have to have that whole conversation. So
yes, we will make that happen.
Cool, awesome. All right, well, you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Oh, John was